Welcome to Willow's World of DIY. I'm Willow, and today I'm going to show you guys how to turn this trash into this cool tornado flame lantern. Let's get to it. I start off by putting masking tape around the bottles, and I do this just to give me straight lines for my cuts. Make sure to use eye protection and a mask while cutting glass. And I'm just using a diamond blade cutter for, a Dremel. You want to go slow at first just to make a channel into the glass. And then you can speed up the tool a little bit after that, but really the glass prefers it at a slower RPM. It had less breakage that way. Now that I have the top and bottom cut off, I put masking tape down the side just to be able to cut it in half. And the glass bottle has these lines going down the side of it, I guess, whenever they adhere it during the manufacturing process or something. So I just put my tape along those lines just to give me some nice straight lines. Now that I have my pieces of glass cut, I'm going to mask off about an 1/8 inch from each edge, and I'm going to adhere these together. And here I'm just trying to smooth out the glass so they fit together nicely. I'm using JB Weld to weld these pieces of glass together. Now that the JB Weld is dry, I'm going to remove the masking tape. Now I'm making the fuel container, and I'm just using an aluminum can, and I get a razor blade on top of this block. This block is about 1.5 inches thick. And I cut that off the top and the bottom, score it, and then I press with my thumb until that line separates. I crimp around the bottom piece with a pair of needle nose pliers just to get it so it will slide into the top piece. And then I use a can opener to cut the top off. And I'm using JB Weld to adhere the two pieces together. I just coat the entire outside of the bottom can and then slide the top over. Now I'm measuring to find my center point on my piece of wood and my can. And I'm just using a compass to mark my lines. And I trace around the pieces of glass just because, not all glass is the same, so the compass won't quite work for it. So I just set the glass in place and then trace around it. I measure the width of the glass and I divide it by 2 to find my center point. And now I'm marking my center points on the wood for each arch of glass and the center point for the fuel canister. I'm using a 1/4 inch Forstner bit to drill 3 small holes, and those holes will fit my router jig to cut these arches and circle. If you guys haven't seen my video on how to build this router jig, I'll post a link to it and you guys can go check it out. And I used a 1/4 inch router bit to cut the channels for the glass. I'm switching the base plate and I'm moving to a 3/4 inch router bit to cut out the circle. And I did it this way because I wanted to leave about an 1/8 inch on the bottom to hold my fuel canister in so it won't fall all the way through. So I raised the bit up about a 1/4 inch or 1/8 inch off of the base plate of the router. So right now you can see me routering it, but you can't see the ridge on the bottom to hold the canister in. Now I'm routering a decorative edge around the outside, all the outside edges, and I'm just using a cove bit. Now I'm sanding it all down with my belt sander. And then I sand it with 120 grit on my random orbital. And then I move up, progressively to a finer grit, just to make it nice and smooth. And I also sand all the sharp edges, just to make it rounded and nice. I had to hand sand these coved channels just because my sander wouldn't get in there. So I'm just hand sanding it, and I started with 120 grit, jumped to, I think this is 300, and then I jumped to 600, and then 800 grit. I'm using a rubber tile spacer just to cut into pieces and make shims for my glass. I just wedge these into my channel to get the glass nice and tight in there. Now I'm super gluing one of the glass panels into place. I just pour super glue in the channel, and then I come back with some baking soda or baking powder and pour that into the channel, and that really hardens up solid, and then I just blow off any excess baking powder. And I keep the second piece of glass removable so I don't super glue it into the channel, but I do super glue these little spacers onto the piece of glass itself, so that they come out with the glass as when I take it out. Now I'm making a tool to be able to extinguish the flame. I just cut off the top of another aluminum can and I screw it onto a stick, and this will help us extinguish the flame, because these things are actually really hard to put out. They like the wind. The more you blow on them, the bigger the flame gets. So even with the compressor, I can't blow it out. Now I'm going to etch my logo into the removable piece of glass. I just get one of my decals and I use the stencil part of the decal and get it into place, and then I use duct tape and cover all the other glass that I don't want to get etched. Now I'm putting the piece of glass in my bead blast cabinet. I use aluminum oxide blast media, and I turn the pressure down to about 60 psi, just because I don't want to break the glass. I just want to, you know, create this frosted look where my logo is. And now I can remove all the duct tape and my decal and see how it turned out. I think my logo looks pretty cool on here. What do you guys think? Post the comments and let me know. And this is what the finished product looks like. Now I'm testing it out outside, and I played with different colored flames. I used lithium to make a red flame. I used methanol to make a blue flame. I used boric acid to make a green flame. And that yellow flame I used isopropyl alcohol, 99%. And the kind of orange flame in the middle is just methanol with a tiny bit of sawdust powder in there. And I use methanol in the green, orange, blue, and red flames, and I just add the other components to the methanol to give them the colors. I hope you found this video helpful. Please hit the like and subscribe buttons down below. Thanks for watching Willow's World of DIY. Until next time.